So, da sind wir wieder. Wir gehen erstmal hier durch die Tür.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Genau. Ich möchte einfach diese Mitarbeiter-Lounge. Die ist einfach so schön. Die haben sie neu gebaut. Die muss ich einfach nochmal sehen. Guck doch mal. Ach, der ist...
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room.
Ich möchte was trinken.
Stood here, drinking it all in.
Genau. Also ich wollte jetzt eigentlich eine ganze Folge lang einfach nur hier stehen und das alles aufsaugen. Also, ne, erwartet jetzt nicht so viel.
Yes, really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Ich glaube, der würde sich jetzt 5 Jahre lang beschweren, wenn ich einfach das Spiel so lasse, mich ins Bett lege und der meckert frühst dann noch, dass ich hier stehe.
Stanley's obsession with this room bordered on creepy and reflected poorly on his overall personality.
Eigentlich müsste ich wirklich eine ganze Folge einfach laufen lassen.
That this is why everyone left.
Komm, hast du noch einen Spruch raus?
Stanley sat around waiting for more dialogue. But when a long time had passed and there was no more, he decided that the game was trying to send him a message.
Ah, schön. Ich liebe das, wie das Spiel mir halt aus der Seele redet, so, weißt du, dass ich halt hier wirklich auf neue Sprüche warte. Wollen wir einen Kaffee machen? Ich finde, dass die Tasten, wenn ich E drücke zum Interagieren, einfach wirklich so einen Tastendruck macht. Na, komm, noch ein Spruch. Errungenschaft freigestellt, du kannst nicht springen. Achso, weil ich immer die Leertaste drücke. Schön. Okay, das war wohl der letzte Spruch.
But at last, he'd had enough of the amazing room and took the first open door on his left to get back to business.
Back to business, was heißt das? Heißt das, ich komme dann wieder dahin, wo ich eigentlich hin wollte? Weiß es nicht. Das ist jetzt die Frage, ne? Kommt man da denn wieder dahin, wo man letztendlich hin wollte? Die Tür geht da... Ne, ich gehe jetzt mal weiter.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Kommst du denn darauf? Ich und feuern? Ach, Quatsch. Alter, das nenne ich mal ein Lagerhaus, wa?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
Alter, ist das ein fettes Lager? Wie kommen die denn da oben ran? Krasse Scheiße.
I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Oh Gott, dunkel. Oh.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly
Wer denn? Meine verschwundene Freundin?
Oh, Stanley, is that you?
Nee.
Hold on,
Bin ein
sweetie. Sorry to
Pizzaput.
keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right.
Weil sie nennt mich erst Stanley und dann Schatz. Was ist mit dir nicht los? Was ist mit dir los?
All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Ich bin...
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife?
Nee, nur eine Verschwundene.
Who commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
Kann ich die trotzdem poppen? Frag für einen Freund. Hi.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Guten Morgen, Mitarbeiter. Drücke deine Taste.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence. Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Okay, man kann keine falsche Taste drücken.
But in
Nein,
his
ich hab's natürlich nicht
mind-
ausprobiert.
In his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly. So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold. As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions, and down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable. It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time. But there is no answer. How could there possibly be? In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one. And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Dreimal dürft ihr raten, wer jetzt R drückt.
You see? Can he just not hear me?
Nee, meine Kopfhörer sind kaputt.
In a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself. How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself? I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried...
Was? Was ist los? Was? Was? Hätte ich eine Taste drücken müssen?
All of his co-workers were
Lul.
gone. What
Oh,
could it
okay.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Dann
memo.
werden wir jetzt mal, Nein, das machen wir noch nicht, das machen wir als letztes. Dann gehen wir jetzt mal die Treppe
When
runter.
Stanley came to a set of 2
Pass auf.
open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Hätte ich da jetzt eine Taste drücken müssen? Hab mich schon angezeigt. Stand nur bitte
Yet
stirb.
there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs
Oh Gott.
to his boss's office.
Ja, moin. Hat einen Abschiedsbrief, weißt du? Oh. Hey, das sind die
But Stanley
Half-Life-Autos.
just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he went down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job.
Ich laufe übrigens extra nicht weiter, weil sonst überspringen wir den Text.
I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself.
Eigentlich aus wie in jedem Spiel die Staubpartikel.
Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay.
Oh, ich dachte, das ist auch wieder vorbei. Sag mal.
Stanley began
screaming.
Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I?
Alter.
And everything went black.
Das Spiel ist so cringe. Das ist so cringe. Was da los?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Bitte was?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy, this much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day, the very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Ach, da sind wir wieder. Na, perfekt. Warte mal, ich brauche hier mal kurz ein Taschentuch. Ja, das Spiel ist so cringe. Das Spiel ist so cringe, ey. Gut, dann, sehen wir uns in der nächsten Folge wieder. Und dann machen wir, denke ich mal, wir hatten jetzt die Treppe, wir hatten jetzt das Atomende. Wir hatten das richtige Ende, wir hatten das, wo wir uns wieder setzen. Aber
Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing?
Mhm. Ich würde mal sagen, den New Content gucken wir uns jetzt einfach mal an, oder? Denn, ja, wir hatten jetzt so 4 Sachen. Das richtige Ende, das Atomende, das, wo wir uns wieder setzen, das mit der Treppe, wo wir runtergehen. Haben wir jetzt das 5. Ende, würde ich sagen. Das machen wir in der nächsten Folge. Dann die nächste Folge könnte ein bisschen kürzer werden. Wenn jetzt hier keine weitere Tür sich für mich öffnet. Ich weiß, es kann sein, dass es hier noch 8 Millionen weitere Enden gibt, aber ich habe jetzt nicht vor, hier hardcore zu googeln, was man alles machen kann und hier 5-mal vielleicht durch die gleiche Tür nochmal gehen. Eins fällt mir noch ein, das machen wir vorher noch. Ja, das fällt mir gerade noch ein. Machen wir in der nächsten Folge, oder? Machen wir das in der nächsten Folge? Ja, mir fällt noch eine Sache ein, da gehe ich jetzt zwar schon mal hin. Das war hier lang. Und zwar das Escape Ending, fällt mir gerade noch ein, genau. Da müssen wir jetzt erstmal weiterlaufen. Müssen hier durch.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there. Coming to a staircase,
ich glaube 2845 war der Code, ne? Weiß ich den tatsächlich noch? Gucken wir gleich. Das fällt mir gerade noch ein. Ich gehe jetzt nur schon mal hin, aber wir machen es in der nächsten Folge dann.
The moment he entered his manager's office, Stanley froze in his tracks. Not a living soul anywhere. Could he really be all alone? This was too much for Stanley to take. Too much for any man to take. He fell to his knees, bursting into... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
Ich reagiere doch auf alles.
That kind of
Schön.
Anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
So ein Scheiß, ey. Oh Mann. Oh, was willst du denn noch sagen? Kommen wir alle mal runter. Wir beruhigen unseren Geist. Und lauschen. Ey, ich wollte gerade mein ASMR beginnen. Du Arsch. Wahrscheinlich besser so, dass ich es nicht konnte. So, dann fahren wir jetzt mit dem Fahrstuhl runter und dann müssen wir warten. Und dann gehen wir nämlich durchs, ihr wisst schon. Ne? Ja, wisst ihr. Genau. Habt ihr erraten. Ich bin stolz auf euch. Durch das Exit. Exit. Also Escape auch genannt. Das, wo war das nochmal? War das hier gleich? Genau, Nö. Einfach nö. Also das ist jetzt das Einzige, was mir jetzt, ich meine, das ist jetzt, wir sind bis jetzt richtig gefolgt und hier ist jetzt nochmal die einzige Sache, die mir jetzt einfällt, wo wir uns nochmal wieder setzen können. Dann fällt mir noch eine Sache ein. Machen wir in der nächsten Folge, aber auch ebenfalls. Und zwar fällt mir dann nämlich noch die Sache ein, dass wir uns erst wieder setzen können und dann unten nochmal richtig abbiegen können. Da will ich auch nochmal wissen, was passiert. Gut. Das fällt mir dann auch noch ein. Machen wir in der nächsten Folge. Bis dann da rein und bye bye.